From here on out, we're leaving 8 days from today for King of the Hammers.
That is a very short period of time. When we hit the lake bed, it's go time, right? So we've got a shock tune, pre-run the race course. There's a ton of stuff that has to happen in very quick order, and we hope the weather cooperates. There's a whole bunch of things that kind of have to go right.
But today we're here in the shop. We put in the engine last night. We're putting in the transmission tonight. We're putting in T-case tonight. Most of the driveline is getting assembled. We're starting to put sheet metal back in. It's really starting to go back together. And yeah, this thing was almost a bare frame like 2 or 3 days ago. So we're finally getting all the parts back in, and now we're able to get rolling and get this thing back together.
Timing wise, we're doing fine. I mean, the car can go together in a few days. That's not a big deal. But now it's really important to put it together right. This is where we take all the extra time. You make sure every connector, the pins aren't mushed, and every bolt really gets torqued. You can't make any mistakes right now, because he'll be able to pre-run and he'll be able to get through qualifying, but that stuff will rear its ugly head on lap 2 of race day.
The past 2 years in this car have not gone exactly as planned, and we've had a lot of good luck testing the car, and just it seems like race day, it falls apart on us. And that happens. It's King of the Hammers, and the things that you think will never happen end up happening. And that's what's bitten us the last couple years.
So last year, Jordan sat on the pole during qualifying till the last 2 guys. I mean, he was in the front, fastest car of the day, truly got to show the capability of this car. And in our mind, we're out for the win, like no question about it. Now, that same mindset bit like 10 different people last year. There would be somebody leading, they'd brake. The next guy'd lead, he'd brake. The next guy, because people are driving over their head. They're out there pushing 110%, and it's a marathon. You can't just sprint on this race, or you will not make it. So it's time to check it up, come up with a better strategy, focus on finishing, focus on keeping the car together.
This car is so fast in the desert. There's maybe 1 or 2 other cars that are equally as fast in the desert for an extended period of time. But you cannot physically drive that car that way all day and it stay together. So, finding that right pace on race day and just backing off, we could drive it at 100%, but it's not gonna last all day. So we need to step it back to 70, 75%, and this thing should stay together all day long, and it should be up there in the top 10 at the very least.
The goal for this year, it's super important that the car finishes. Jordan needs a finish, the car needs a finish. The team their mindset is like that. And that's a completely different mindset. That's now when the car comes into the pit, we're gonna take a little bit more time, and when I say a little more time, that might be another 60 seconds, right? In years past, the car might come in, you just splash fuel, give it a quick look, and send him out before another car came out. This year, we're not gonna worry about that. It's really about taking care of the car.
I think we got a lot better shot of this thing staying together this year, and I think a lot of that is just having a little bit different pace and stepping back a little bit. I think we got a pretty good game plan together, and we'll try and make it happen.
He's got his work cut out for him, but if the mindset is we're gonna finish, the other guys will take themselves out and he'll find himself in the top 10.
We've done a lot more testing this year, way more than years past.
And we finally got to the point where he ran 350 miles, well more than the race is, of just beating on the car, and we didn't have any trouble. We weren't able to do that before. This year, we come into this race with a lot more confidence.
This year is gonna be a little different, with Dad not racing again. He took a break for a year or maybe 2, but he raced again last year, and now he's not racing again, so
the transition to team manager has actually been one that's been quite rewarding. I actually really enjoy seeing Jordan and I collaborate, on different trails and strategies, and look at that line, and how are we looking at the car, and it's really given me a chance to step back and help Where before I was so focused on prepping my car that I didn't have time to do that. So this year we've had a lot more time to do that, and I think it's really going to make the difference on his car staying together. Now, once we get out there, my role is going to be using some of my experience to help Jordan and Gunner in their pre-running, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to look for trouble spots, right? Tight pinches, big G outs, whatever that item is that is going to put extra stress on the car, we're going to put notes in there and check Jordan way up before he hits that stuff. And my instruction to Jordan is going to be slow way down, just breeze through it and then nail it back up.
On race day, he will be out in the Terremoto, bouncing pit to pit so he can see the car as much as possible. He's really going to help keep the guys on track. If parts need to get somewhere, they get there before we get there, you know, just making sure everything on the team's end gets handled on race day. Yeah, so we're gonna have a few different support systems on race day. We're gonna have our support system in the pits, you know, the guys that have been around all year, know the car, help work on the car. Those guys have it down to a T. They're always ready when we come in.
So on race day, typically I have a member of the media with me, and we go to different points on the race course because I like to have eyes on the car as it comes by. I like to just see, how does Jordan, how does Gunner, how does the car look? They also know that I will be going from like pit 1 over to main, and then from main over to 2. So if there's something they want me to keep an eye on, I'll be the next set of same eyes on the car. So that's an important aspect.
And then of course we have other racers, you know, hopefully behind us that are gonna be there to help us if we have any issues. And of course, if they're in front of us, it always goes, you know, back the other way. If they need something, we'll bring it to them.
Tommy Dykstra is a customer that was inspired by my finish last year in my Jeep Terremoto. He literally bought everything that we sell to duplicate a clone of the Terremoto, and he built it, came out, qualified, and now he's in the big race. He's a super cool guy. He's got a lot of energy. He's mechanically really good. You know, he built the whole thing himself in the garage. I'll tell you, after I saw the course, I'm like, glad I'm not racing in a Jeep. He has no idea what he's about to embark on. So he and I went out for 4 days and we ran at race pace, right? And I told him, I'm like, put in the catheter, like you're not stopping. There's no like smoke breaks, no nothing, dude. We're just hauling ass. You got to get through this whole thing. And he did really good. Like he definitely has what it takes to finish. But it's also different doing that for 12 hours, right? He and I did it for like 8. So, you know, do one more lap of that when you're the sun's going down and you're blowing bubbles, and not make mistakes where you like rip a tire or blow out the steering box, or, you know, that's tough.
Yeah, without having outside assistance during King of the Hammers, you know, your pit crew can't just come and give you parts. The only way you can get parts is if you go to the pit yourself, running or walking or whatever, or have another racer bring it to you. So that really adds a level of strategy on race day.
This is a very tough course. This is probably the toughest course there ever has been.
From what we've heard, we're going up all of the hard trails and we're going down a lot of the easy trails. It's a good thing. It's gonna make the race challenging, and only those that, you know, have the equipment and at the end of the day are ready to finish will finish. This might be my 8th King of the Hammers, and I've never seen a course like this.
So this year they added a brand new trail called King's Graveyard, and this is filled with giant vehicle-sized boulders. And this is brand new. So literally they just made sure they could run a vehicle down it, and then just said, okay, we're putting that on the race course. So it's not like a trail that's been well traveled. We've never driven it before. Many of the drivers have never driven it before. By the way, that's also on lap 3. So you're already tired. Your car is beat down. This is the kind of thing where everything's stressed, and you get in there and you make a mistake and it's the end of the race. And by the way, that's 20 miles from the finish, right? So you've driven 170 miles and you're gonna brake when you can see the lights of Hammertown. You know, it's like, that's rough.
Desert racing in King of the Hammers in particular, because you have a little bit of everything. You have the extremely high speed, you know, sometimes you're going 130 miles an hour. Sometimes you're, you know, going slow through canyons, but you know, you see a spot where it'll open up, but then you gotta, you know, it's got a hard left or a hard right at the end, and you gotta stop as quick as possible. So, you know, good brakes are absolutely crucial. And luckily we've had fantastic luck with the R1 big brake kit on the race car behind me. Building this car, we kind of took the road a little bit less traveled. We decided to do a fully independent car, which is fully independent front and rear suspension. And that's kind of uncommon for Ultra 4. You know, it's common in desert racing, but it's really never been tested in rocks. And there's still a lot of people that don't believe it works, you know, and I'm just hoping one of these days we can prove that it does. Fox Shocks has been huge in helping us get this car dialed. You know, they designed the shocks for this car in-house, and they've been awesome to work with. We've had multiple testing sessions with them, with Mike Kim at Fox, helping us get these shocks, get this car dialed in. And you know, there's always something we can do a little bit better, you know, but it's that extra 5% that can make it or break it on race day. And you know, we try to squeeze every bit out of these shocks as we can. So this year, again, we're gonna be running the Mickey Thompson Baja Boss. A race like this, it is absolutely crucial to have a tire that will withstand the elements out there. We've been all across the country wheeling, and there is absolutely nothing like Johnson Valley. And a lot of the sharp rocks are embedded. You know, there's random just boulders laying out in the desert that you could clip at any moment's notice, you know, and you need the best possible chance of, you know, not getting a flat or dinging a wheel or anything that will slow you down on race day. And we've had nothing but good luck with the Mickey Thompson Baja Bosses.
Now, it's one thing to just drive the trail, but what typically happens is somebody breaks in there. So now, not only you gotta drive the trail, you gotta drive around some broken vehicle in here. And sometimes that involves helping them get unstuck, right? You might have to pull them back, you might have to push them forward, you might have to get them out of the way, you might have to go up on the wall. You gotta get really creative when you get out there.
In the event that we get stuck, my co-driver Gunner will get out of the car, he'll get all of our winching equipment. You know, we're running one of the Warn 9.0 winches, and we will, you know, start tying tree straps around rocks and just start pulling. And luckily we have one of the fastest race winches on the market, so we're gonna get out there as safely and as quickly as probably possible. We have been extremely hard on wheels over the years between me and my dad. We have definitely torn up our fair share of tires and or wheels. But the forged KMC machetes have been absolutely awesome. I think in the 3 or 4 years we've been running them, we've dented one, and it was not even that bad. We got it fixed and we're still running it to this day. So I highly believe in those wheels, and I'm excited to have them back on the team this year.
Well, I know for me in years past, literally the day that we drive out there, I wish the race was the next day, because all that happens all week is each time you take the car out, you're taking another chance of damaging it or wearing it out, or, you know, something happening, right? We know when we leave here that the car is ready to go and we're prepared to race. So I'd rather the race just go. Now, for Jordan.
There's 2 very stressful days King of the Hammers week. It's qualifying morning and race morning.
Then he gets to qualifying, right? So this is tough for all the drivers. They talk about butterflies. This is your, you know, 2 minutes to put it on the line and show what you and your car have without wrecking it, right? And I would say there's probably 10 or so that wreck it every year in qualifying. So you really want to be careful. You want to push it a little bit, but not crazy.
And I would say race day is better, but worse in a way. You know, qualifying, if I were to screw up, it's not the race. We can still recover. Yeah, we're starting in the back, but we get a second chance. We get the race. the race, if you were to screw up, it's game over. You know, there is no second chance. So I definitely think race day is a different kind of stressful, but it is definitely more the most stressful day of the week for sure.
Race day is the end of the week. It's the very last day. You get up before the sun comes up. You get out there and stage your car. Everybody's out there. This is when all the families come out. You know, everybody's taking pictures and, you know, hugging and doing the whole thing. To me, it's what you spent the entire year getting ready for. I love it. I haven't actually asked Jordan about what that looks like. I know on race day, he's like super serious guy, you know.
Usually race morning, the stress, it's the moment that like everyone starts talking to me like, hey, it's time to get in the car, it's time to get in the car. And I'm like, okay, great, that means it's time to get stressed out. But you know, it's between getting in the car and leaving the starting line. You know, that hour is just all butterflies. You're feeling all sorts of weird. You don't know what's going on. You don't want to be there. You're like, get me out of here. But you know, as soon as we take the green flag, it's game on. You know, I forget all about that. And you know, my co-driver Gunner's pretty good at calming me down, and we just sit there and chat. And he talks about weird stuff while we're sitting on the starting line. So it's good to have someone like that in the car with me.
Yeah, as a racer, you know, you feel the pressure, but at the same time, it's a marathon. So you got to kind of like settle in for the long fight, and it's a tough one all day long.
Last couple days on the car, everything needs to get together. You know, we have a lot of drivetrain components to get back together. We still have suspension we're building back there, so all of that stuff has to get finished, go to heat treat, come back from heat treat. We have to assemble it all, get it all in the car, make sure it all fits.
This is the first year that we have ample spare parts for the car. In years past, the car was so new, we didn't even have a spare. So now we're in a good spot where, okay, yeah, we had a little trouble, fine, get the backup, put it on, keep them going. So it's really a completely different position, and that really gives us a lot of confidence that we'll get to the finish line.
Oh, we're in. Nobody move.
All right, so we're gonna get back working on the car tonight. We got a long night ahead of us, so we will see you guys all out there, and we're looking forward to a successful King of the Hammers.